Hey, what's up, guys? It's bonus stage time. In the contents of this video will be my process for creating the audio file that you hear on the transcription, and I hope that this will be just as much of an educational experience, if not more than an educational experience, for some of you guys, as the entire behind the scenes series was. So let's get started with it. Obviously, we have finished with the transcription of the series, but there are lots of things that I'm going to do before I post this up on mine. Now, in order to do this, I have saved this transcription as a different file name. I called it master file because I'm going to be tampering with this, and heaven forbid I should be tampering with the actual original transcription file that I used and accidentally save it or something like that and lose the data that I had for the transcription file. So I've saved it as a separate file. And now we're going to go through and I'm going to show you some of the things that that I need to do. Mainly what I need to do is separate some of these parts from others because we're going to have certain effects taking place. And I'm being very vague, but this will make a lot of sense once we continue going through this episode. So I'm going to tell you what I need to isolate first. All right, the first thing I need to isolate is here, where Carolina Crown turns backfield. So we are going to delete everything that happens before that, and we're also going to delete everything that happens after that as well. So we've taken care of that, and we'll maybe leave a couple measures after they turn front field, and then delete everything that happens after that. So we've just got that file, okay? Now we're going to save this as backfield A. Okay, and we will take this section where the mellophones are facing forward. We're going to take this section out because what we will be doing in Audacity, we do not want to affect this mellophone section part here. However, we do want it to affect this part because I believe they're facing backfield. Okay. So now we'll go ahead and save this as backfield B. Then we'll open up backfield A. And we'll do the exact opposite. We'll delete everything. Come on. We'll delete everything except for this front field mellophone part. And we'll say this is backfield C. Okay? So there's our sample of that. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to save an audio file of backfield C and backfield B. Okay, so we've got that taken care of. Now we're going to go back to this master file. The next part that we need to apply this isolation to is all the way over here in the ballad, and it's just the solo features, so we won't need anything after the solo features. So we will save this as ballad solo A. Okay, so let me make sure I get this right. The first solo involves the first and last mellophone lines. We will save this as solo B, and we'll export as audio file. Okay, so the trumpet solo will We'll call it ballot solo C. And we'll save that as an audio file. Again, we're going to do the same exact thing with the little bitty snippet of a solo that takes place in this trumpet part. Save that as D, ballot solo D. Same thing, export it as audio file. And that leaves for us this little snippet over here. Okay, and export that to audio file. Alrighty, so the next thing we're going to do after this is we're going to hop on to the Carolina Crown high brass transcription. So we'll go to that file right now. Okay, so here we are at the high brass feature. I have saved this as high brass choirs, again for the same reason. I did not want to lose the original high brass feature score, because we will be tampering with this just as well. Now, if you remember with my explaining when I did the high brass transcription months ago, that there are 6 choirs and they're broken up into 3 trumpets and the mellophone part. So we're going to break our recording up into 6 different choir recordings. So we will first delete all of this, and we'll leave only the first choir. We will save it as choir 1. And then we will export choir 1 as audio file. I'm not sure why this one's only letting me do a WAV file, but that's fine. I'll export it as a WAV file, and we'll repeat the same process for all 6 choirs. Now we have all the audio files we can need. As you can see in my little folder here, I've got a massive army of files now. I'm going to want to sort them by type just so I can see them better. So now I see all the audio files. You can see another one of the bonus episodes that I'm currently working on. But what I want to look at is all of these files, those MP3 format files, and then all of these files. Okay, so those are the files I'm going to use. I no longer need Finale for this project, so we'll go ahead and take care of that. Exit out. And now we will be using Audacity. So what I'm going to do to start off, I do want to mention that this is actually the actual file of their Carolina Crowns Championship show. I'm going to use that for an intro and for the end. We're going to sort of do like a fade in from the live recording to the MP3 files of my transcription. And I mean, you know this if you've already seen the video. Then we'll fade back out to the end. So we're going to keep this file. We won't need anything from here all the way until like here. So I'll go ahead and reverse amplify that to a low peak so that it's completely silent, because we won't need any of it. So we'll take care of that. And then the next file that we're going to want to add is going to be my master file, my quote master file. And then we'll get to work with this. Okay, cool. So now we're going to put this MP3 format file here. Okay, so now we have that file. Go ahead and place it around the ballpark of where I need it to be. The next file we're going to add is going to be the 2 backfield files. Alrighty, now we should have all the files we will need. The first thing that we're going to do will require the master file and the live file, so I'm going to go ahead and diminish all the files other than that and make sure that we get that taken care of. So what we are going to do here is we are going to line up the whole note that takes place here. Like right here. We're going to line that up with my whole note here. So, to do that, we'll go ahead and place this over here a little bit. Get it in the ballpark, then we're going to zoom in so we can see where it is. Now we want to pinpoint the exact spot where that whole note starts, because that's where I want my whole note to start from my file. So we'll zoom in maybe once more. Right there, where you can see the peak. So I'm going to line up my file as best I can with that peak. Is that close enough? I think it is. Okay, cool. What we are going to do is we are going to have the live file fade out and the MP3 file fade in. The computerized file fade in. I guess they're both MP3 files. So, in order to make this as exact as possible, I am going to, this is where I need to be, I am going to split this clip, and I'm going to split this clip as well. So that way I can line up my highlighting with that split. And what we're going to do is we're going to have this fade in. Then we're going to line up my highlighting with the above file. And have that one line up as well. Okay? And we'll check this crossfade and see if it works to our liking. Yep. And that's going to do. So then the next thing we want to do is we want to find where the high brass feature ends, because we're going to have to split this recording up. I believe this is where it is. Yep. So we're going to have to split this up. Let's see. Because if you recall, in our full score, we left out the high brass feature because we had already transcribed the high brass feature in a file of its own. So that's why it isn't included in the original score that I made. Okay. So yeah, we'll do that fade out in the end later. So let's go let's go work with the high brass stuff now. So we will diminish this. We'll keep this up. Okay. We have the 6 choirs. This is what we're going to be working with right now. We're going to move them all the way over here to where the live audio ends. And we might actually want to space them out a little bit more to have some silence after that movement. So let's zoom in specifically on these files, and we'll do that. We will move it a second and a half about. Then actually, how about a few seconds? A few seconds won't hurt. And of course, we'll line up all 6 of these. 2, 3, 6. Now, in order to do what we're about to do right now, we need to click this little solo button, so that just in case there are any other files in the way, that we only hear what we're working on, these 6 parts. So what I'm about to show you is going to be how to create this stereo effect that we created. Now what we're going to do is we are going to use this little panning tool. Right now it's on the center. We don't want it to be on the center. In the live performance of Carolina Crown, the high brass were spread out in 6 pods, and they were offset to the audience left of the field. So we're going to default our recording to the left. What we're going to do is we are going to move this pan over to 80% left, so that 80% of the left ear is getting this choir 1, and 20% of the right ear is getting the choir 1. And then we're going to space them out evenly by 30%. So choir 2, we're going to have 50% to the left. And choir 3, we're going to have 20% to the left. We will have 10% to the right for choir 4. Choir 5 will be 40% to the right. Choir 6 will be 70% to the right. Now, obviously, in the actual live transcription, all of these groups, except for like the 6th choir, were all to the left. But I want to dramatically space out these panning effects, just so that you can hear it a lot easier. It's a lot more easily depicted in the headphones when you listen. Go ahead and minimize these back to where they were, so out of the way. Now that we have all of that taken care of, we will bring the ballad parts out. What we will do is we will line this up as best as we can. We'll just ballpark it for now, and then we'll make it exact when we get the chance. Okay, so what we are doing is we are lining up the piano cues. That's why we left the piano cues in each example, so that we could line them up and make sure that the audio files were synced that way. Now that we have that first one lined up, we can line up all these files, because these have also started recording at the same place. So hopefully that means all of these are lined up. We're going to listen and check just to make sure. And it appears that they are. Good. So now what we can do is we can silence everything that happens in this before the ensemble comes in. So we'll line this up perfectly. Yep. And reverse amplify all the way back to the piano cues. And then, now that we've lined this up, we no longer need these piano cues. So we will do the same amplification with them, so that these are all in silence. So now what we are going to do is all of these individual solos played at different parts of the field. This one was front field to the audience right, and so we are going to pan this to the right about 50%. This one took place at the front of the field, audience left, so we're going to pan that about 50% to the left. This one is also trumpet, right? Just making sure. Yeah. So this one was taken about the same distance to the right, but it was backfield, and the trumpet, I believe, was facing towards more towards the center. So we're going to pan this 20% to the right. Same deal with this mellophone. We're going to pan it 20% to the left for the same reasons. And again, you won't hear the difference here, but you obviously will hear the difference in the actual transcription. But we will check, and actually we're going to come all the way back here to make sure that everything's lined up and everything works out. All right, so I think the last, actually there's two more things we need to do. The backfield thing is kind of a wild card. I've never done anything like this before, so we'll see how it works. Hopefully it'll work very well. Hopefully it'll work like a charm. But the first thing we need to do is to line those files up with the opener on this master now. We're going to take the solo off for that as well, for now, and see. Okay, so now we want to make this sound like it's coming from backfield. So we're going to play with some fun tools here. I should probably add the echo part in first. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to highlight this entire file, and we are going to play with an effect that Audacity calls G-verb. All right? Now what we're going to do with the G-verb is we're going to adjust these to make it sound like there is a echo or a reverb effect going on from this crown file. Now, the reason we're doing this is because obviously when you hear when a band or corps turns backfield, you hear an echo effect because all of the horns are facing backfield. The sound is bouncing off of the back of the stadium and coming towards you. So I'm hoping that if I add a reverb effect here, that will give the effect I'm looking for to make it sound as though it's backfield. Okay. All right. So the numbers that we have input in are the numbers that are suggested numbers for a concert hall reverb. Just from my experience of using a concert hall reverb effect, I think it's going to give us close enough to what we want from our backfield effect. So I'm going to hit OK and then listen to it and see what it sounds like. If we feel like we need to tweak it, we'll tweak it. So I'll play it for you just so you can hear how this sounds. So it gets that sort of distant sound. Unfortunately, because it's an MP3, it gets a little bit of a metallic, sort of like even less of an authentic sound than the default MIDI normally has. But that's okay. We're getting the echo sound that we want. So the next thing we're going to do is to take this and reverse amplify. Actually, we're going to use the gain tool again for this because I think it will be a lot more effective here. We're moving the gain tool all the way down to about 9, and it's probably actually not enough. Let's take a listen real quick. Come on. Yeah, that's probably still not enough. Let's put the gain down to about 12. All right, so next thing for us to do is to line up the mellophone, those two little mellophone parts, with the master file. Yep, sounds good. Okay, cool. So now we have a 4-count turn that takes place right here. And so we are going to split our audio here so that we can line that up. And we don't need anything after the split in this recording. And then what we're going to do, we're going to find where the 4 counts before that turnaround would start. We will line it up right here, and we will split on the track above it. And so at this point, we don't need anything in the backfield material in the master file here. So we will go ahead and reverse amplify that. And so we will have 4 counts of decrescendo here, or not decrescendo, 4 counts of a fading out of this backfield sort of echo effect, and then 4 counts fading, 4 counts of fading in for this normal. The last thing we needed to do was this, yeah, that's right. Take the MIDI file and transfer it back to the live. So what we are going to need to do is line these releases up with each other. And actually, judging by the retardando that happens at the end and the live file, I actually might want to move it over slightly, like right here or something, and maybe try to line up the notes that happened before that last line, as difficult as it's going to be. And then we will split about here. By the time we get there, about 4 seconds or so later, we want the file to be completely live. All right, so that should do it for this bonus episode. I hope that you learned something from this, that it was helpful, or if it was not helpful, that it was fun, that you at least enjoyed it. And if it wasn't fun, then whoopsies, sorry. But this was fun for me to show you guys, and hopefully this is of use to you in your own future endeavors, whatever it may be. Yeah, cool deal. So we want to amplify this a little bit as well. Not quite as much. It was louder than the other file to begin with, but to bring it out to more of an equal as a dramatic release. Okay, cool. So this has been the bonus episode, the Audacity feature of it. Hopefully this leaves for a really cool effect when you listen to the recording with headphones. That is at least my goal and my purpose for doing what I do here. There's one more bonus episode coming. It should come in a couple of days, and it's the time-lapse video. So that should be cool to see. You'll get to see. It'll be an unedited, unedited behind-the-scenes version, but it'll be in super speed. Like, you'll be able to see. It'll be a time lapse. You know, it'll be literally a time lapse. But you'll see from the very, very first note all the way to the very, very end. It's probably going to be about a 20-minute long video. It's going literally from the beginning to the end, sped up. So some of you guys, I assume, would like to see that, to like to see literally the process note by note, as opposed to the behind-the-scenes series where I edited out a lot of stuff. So you'll get to see that. Other than that, this has been a lot of fun. I hope that you've had a lot of fun, and that will be it for this episode. Thanks.